Hello there, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the back office, a teardown lab, a genuine teardown for you today. I just got back from the Oxford gaming market with my friend Mark and we were on the hunt for things. And this Game Boy Color fell into my hands for a whopping £25. Now it didn't come with this Flash Boy Pro cartridge, but I did use this because I didn't have any Game Boy Color cartridge. I would like to see the colour actually running, and I kind of can give me that Game Boy Advance vibes. Never, like I said, never had a Game Boy Color. And the thing that was supposedly wrong with this is that the start and select don't work, and I can't remember in this menu if they did anything, but certainly I've managed to navigate to a game and found that they haven't, they're not responding at all. So for my first ever time I am dismantling Game Boy Color. So fortunately it does seem to be using the same screws as everything else, or unfortunately if you don't happen to have a tri-wing screwdriver. It did come with Panasonic batteries, so quality, at least better than some of the Poundland Kodak batteries I've seen in devices recently, which always seem to be totally leaked. And I'm not sure exactly if you can name some down below. What are the worst batteries you can get? I think my favourite batteries are just probably Amazon ones because they're just cheap and cheerful. But before that I used to use the Pro Elec that you got from CPC. Again, any battery that you can buy in quantity of 100. Recently though I did get the kids a rechargeable batteries. I think they might be an IMH, just whatever technology. And the charger and the batteries are were quite reasonable on Amazon, I think, but they're say reasonable, more dearer than you think they ought to be, seeing as we've had them for a million years. Right, let's get in there. The only thing with kids is you've got to remind them that they are rechargeable and not to use them in, well, devices that are outside of the house. So for example, if you have a walkie-talkie or something that you take outside and it fails when you're on holiday using it, the chances are you're going to swap the batteries with a legit battery and your rechargeable is going to get lost. Right. There. So very similar to the original Game Boy in terms of how you open it up, and if I am honest, they're not too dissimilar in how they look inside. Your speaker, your headphone, power. Clearly there's some of the circuitry for the screen's optimised. There's not a separate backlight type. Well, it wasn't a backlight there, was it? Whatever. There was a power supply driver for the screen, which is somehow integrated elsewhere. Is this an 8.338 megahertz chip? It's got that vibe, hasn't it? And there's your custom CPU Game Boy Color Game Boy Rev C. Now we have to switch to a Philips. Look of it. Let's see if we can get a Philips and get in there. I've just realised I might have been lying to you actually, because if you look down here, there seems to be a power board which might be doing some DC to DCing. We'll flip that over in a moment and see if there's anything interesting there. So I'm really hoping it's just a matter of dirty contacts, and that'll be great. And I'm guessing that the vendor here, and it was a nice fella, I think it was from Newcastle, it was very clear in why it was on sale. And the reason also was because a lady had bought it and he was, I think he was trying to demo it. He said, look, everything all works, and then the start button didn't work. And I was thinking, how embarrassing it must be when that happens. You might get away with it. Some games don't need start buttons, but I think realistically, it's going to be something easy to fix. Right. So there's the main module. The screen ribbon cable is snagging, so I'm going to just try to disconnect that without breaking it. Now there are loads of screen mods for these, and they look absolutely stunning with a modded screen. So that's definitely on the cards for this if it's working. Flip it over. Now we're not seeing anything majorly wrong here. So you can see that is a sort of DC to DC type convert board, I'm absolutely sure. There's your start and set, and there is a little bit marring on them, but there's no like moisture damage or anything particularly bad. If you look at the contacts here, they're not too bad. So I think just a little case of cleaning everything. And while I go and find my blue roll, I'm just going to take a little bit of this. I don't even know what the brand is. It's just the standard contact cleaner, PCB cleaner that we get from CPC or something. If I recall, it smells of chemicals and fruit. Makes me think that some sort of volatile compound smell of fruit. I'm not sure why that is. To lure hungry bees. So we'll let that just soak a little bit, and get a little bit more reluctant here, but I might just put, oh gosh, flood the whole thing, why don't you, with that, and just let it have a quick soak. Got the trusty blue roll. Just doing a little buff really. You can see though, before I buff the start and select, that they're actually really clean. The contact cleaner brush already did a pretty good job cleaning it, and I'm just shining it under the light at different angles just to see if there's any obvious signs of wear, but honestly it doesn't look like this thing's had hardly any use really. I think that's going to be fine. Now look here, just going to give it a little dabby dab. The nice thing about all of this is that shells, buttons, whatever you want are available aftermarket. They tend not to be, in my opinion at least, as good a quality as the originals, but you might be able to let me know if I'm wrong on that, or if there are some particular brands that are worth going for. They do look good. They look great actually sitting on a counter in the show with a bright screen and a cool orange shell or a different colour, but when you pick them up there's something just doesn't feel quite right about them. But that's not to say if you don't use them for a while they'll sort of bed in and perform in exactly the same way you'd expect. So that's that there. I think it'd be good practice probably to let that juice that's still in the case evaporate before putting it back together if it's you. If it's me, I'm not practicing what I preach, I'm just going to wang it back because I really am keen on seeing if we fix this. Just making sure that this switch here is working and aligned, and it is. Everything looks good. Just going to pop those screws back in. Fortunately it's just regular Phillips. Here we go, just going to pop that ribbon cable back in. I think that's probably the only delicate thing in this whole job. It's a very simple unit to take apart. Nintendo have clearly optimized it by the time they got to this point in the life cycle. Just pop this back together. I think the battery contacts here are the only bit really to worry about. Oops. Yep. There's an interesting bit there on the plastics. They look like they're splaying. I suspect that's a factory splay. So you notice I didn't put any of the screws in. I think we're just going to test it as is. It's weird not having a brightness. Okay. It's loading up our dodgy menu. Oh, that was the start button, by the way, I just pressed. I don't know what it does on this Chinese overdrive type knockoff thing. Clearly it doesn't seem to be doing anything in this loading up screen. We'll give it a moment. Just rub off the excess while we're waiting. I mean, that's quite tedious though, making the user have to watch that. EA Games. And that was the start, that's the start button, that's the start button. I think we're in business. And actually, look, we can finally play the game, which apparently is some sort of 007 game, but in a foreign language. So if I push start in the game, oh, it's doing something at the bottom of the screen. You'll see those little arrows appearing. Select is selecting. Right, well, there you go, 25 quid. Was it a bargain and did I do good, or is it just pretty average? You let me know down below. Thank you for watching. Come chat on Discord, and as ever, thank you so much for watching. Mwah, smooches.